Hello, welcome to another episode of Bor-Kothoki. And today we have a wonderful guest, and I am expecting it to be a very wild episode today because it's a episode that I think I will discover many new things today. So, first of all, welcome our guest, Aarti Chavan. Aarti Chavan, welcome to Bor-Kothoki.
Thank you, Pramatesh. Thank you so much for inviting me over here.
Yeah. So, my first question is, how is the weather?
Oh, okay. The weather is really nice. I've worn woolen, so you can see I am feeling slightly cold. I'm in Pune, and
Okay,
Pune's weather right now is slightly cold. It's not as much as you would ever, have like we would see in Assam. It's definitely not as cold. If I were in Assam, I would have, I don't know, worn how many layers of clothing. But it's pleasant here. It's nice.
okay, that's nice to know. Like, it's very cold out here. I'm actually wearing it's a sweater and a jacket, so you might have noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. Very cold.
So, speaking about winters, some of your memories uh, of winters that you have.
Hmm. Some of my memories. I have a memory of my childhood. I remember my birthday would always come in winters. So it was, December, the month of December, and that time the winters were very cold in Pune. It
Okay,
was not like today. It was really cold. So we would go in the school with a sweater. And of course, that time we didn't have like a school sweater and outside sweater. There was a school sweater which we wore everywhere. And birthday was the time when we wore new clothes like civil dress, wouldn't wear
okay,
the uniform. And I would go in my civil dress or whatever, birthday dress, or with a school sweater on top of it. And I would be so like, why? Why is my birthday in December? I don't get to wear, a new dress or don't get to like fully flaunt my new dress. So I used to always think, why in December? I couldn't, I would have to wear a school sweater on top of it. So that's one memory I have. Yeah, that's one memory I have.
so I noticed that you are a good storyteller as well. Does it run in your family?
I think so. Like people do say I have a good knack for communicating things. So, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm still learning. I still keep learning from my brother, from everybody around me.
Okay. So, uh, since we are trying to speak about poetry here, so we'll try to restrict our discussion more into poetry itself. And so, I would like to know, what do you think storytelling has to do with poetry?
Hmm. I think storytelling is just the beginning of a poetry. Uh, Poetry is much more nuanced. It has a quality of expressing something which you cannot generally express in words, right? So
Okay.
generally emotions and feelings which are beyond words, but still words are something that we use as a medium meaning to as a medium to communicate. So for me, poetry is using those words in a way which is so nuanced that it can tell something hugely. It can express
Okay.
something just like blow away your imagination. So storytelling starts, and I mean, in poetry, I think storytelling is just the beginning of it.
Okay. That was very deep, actually. uh,
I
uh,
hope it made sense.
so, why do you think it is more nuanced than storytelling?
Um, because Mm, well, I don't have an example for this, but if you look at most of the poems, and frankly, I'm not that well read of different poetries, but whatever I have read, I always find that poets use some certain incidences or certain things in nature that are happening to express something huge, right? um like, I really don't know what example I could give, but I think yeah, I have not prepared any, I don't have any example in my head right away, but something which um
It's the
yeah,
tools that they use.
yeah, I think yes, it would categorize under tools, like how a few words can be used to describe a big idea.
Yeah,
That is something what makes poetry so nuanced.
yeah, like the different tools they use, like metaphors and similes and different things.
Yes,
So
yes.
just using a limited number of words, it can express a very huge kind of message that would otherwise be very difficult to express.
Yes.
For example, I often use this example everywhere, like a wasp trying to uh, go to the outside world, but it is constantly hitting the window, thinking
Hmm.
that uh, it is the way to go to the outside world because light is coming from there. Uh, so it is that feeling frustration can be used in so many different ways.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but uh, it can be used in a very beautiful manner in poetry, but it is very difficult to use the same metaphor in storytelling. So,
Yes. Yes. Storytelling, yes. I think you can use metaphors in
yeah,
storytelling, but its use is very limited. Whereas in poetries, it can be full of metaphors.
yeah,
That makes it quite rich.
yeah. So let's come to something different. Like, how did you get interested in poetry?
Okay, so the first poem, I had gone on one journey, which is called as Jagrati Yatra. It's
Okay,
entrepreneurs, and at a quite a young age, I had been there, and on that, it's on a train journey. So on the train, there was one session of a person who was into poetry, or like in general, that person had a lot of passion of poetry, and really don't remember who that was, but on the train, like, that person asked us to make a poem. The trainer, uh, she asked us to make a poem, and each and every one of us made a poem.
okay,
Like, there, that time, and I guess the session was maybe of half an hour. And in that one session, we made, each and every one of us made a poem, and people read it out, and it was so amazing that something like, I could just put down my thoughts in a form of poem, was something I came to know, like, for the first time. And after that, whenever I had very deep sense of an emotional feelings that I had, I kind of had that need, or really wanting to put down in the form of a poem. And I have done that a couple of times. So it was always, the inspiration was never to write a poem, but inspiration was always something which I want to express. And
okay.
then that came out as a form of, in a form of a poem. So so it started there, that somebody took a session, and I saw the power of putting your words in a poem. It's so beautiful. And I really feel good when I am able to do that.
Okay. So I'm very happy that yeah, someone actually asked you to write a poem, and you actually wrote a poem, and which is something very unheard of generally it happens where people are in a like a literary class or something like most of the students are expected to be able to write. So, and in your class, it was not a literary class, right? If I
Yeah,
understood right.
it wasn't a literary car. It was just a small session.
So it's a very big takeaway for also that if we try, anyone can just write a poem, and
Yeah.
uh, it doesn't have to be the best poem in the as a first poem, but gradually we can improve on our skills, right?
Mm. Yeah, definitely. A very fulfilling thing as well.
So after writing that poem, did you try to pursue the like pursue poetry, whether as a reading poetry or writing poetry?
Now I'm thinking I must after talking to you, but never really with awareness and consciously. I remember I had written a poem for my husband
Okay,
once. Then I had written a poem on a garden with, after the lockdown, the first time, like sitting there and just watching the garden. I'd written a poem. And after that, I have never really attempted writing a poem in such a, I don't know why I never, after that, wrote a poem. But if you even ask me about whether I read, I have never read anything consciously. No poetry is read consciously. But my husband is a very he writes
okay,
poems, and he loves to write in general, but he has also written many poems, and he loves to read poems. So he would keep forwarding me whenever he found a nice, very meaningful poem, and the ones which he knew I would enjoy reading, he would forward those to me. There were times when I have read poetries where I haven't, like, I just couldn't make any sense. Some
okay.
poetries are just so difficult to understand, but he understood, so he sent it, and I'm like, what does this even mean? I don't understand. But there are, of course, some poems which are very good. Like, of course, those are also having good meanings, just that I don't understand. There are some simple ones also, which I read, and then when he sent them to me, and that's how I have stayed connected unconsciously, thanks to my husband.
Okay. So when you wrote a poem to about him, so he must be really happy, and he, that was like really impressive to.
So I don't know if, because when I actually what I'd done is that I'd written a poem on a, that thing where you roll the paper.
Uh,
The olden days, you must have seen in serials, you open
uh,
it as if,
uh,
message aaya hai kahin se. So that kind of, very fancy. I had written it with my hand, in my own handwriting. I wrote the entire poem, and one of my friends had helped me edit the poem, so he had put better words here and there, and it helped me make it nice, and then I'd written it down. And then I think he was sleeping, and I woke him up. I think it was our anniversary or something. So I woke him up and I gave it to him. Now, when he read it, I was expecting, wow, so nice, you did this for me, but nothing. It was like, oh, nice, this is so good. So it's like, what? All that I did, all I get is this. This is nice. So that maybe that's why I never wrote any poem again. Had I got a little more appreciation, I would have been more keen to write. But yeah, I mean, of course, that's not the point. But that's how he has his way of reacting.
okay, so it was still a fun memory for you, I hope.
Absolutely. No, no, no. That's there for sure. The memory is very vivid in my imagination. It's very vivid.
Yes, but I really tried to imagine this scene because you had a very good way of like building an imagery. I could almost see the scene where you were writing in a piece of handmade paper and
Yeah.
that was rolled. So I could almost visualize everything. So I can say that you are a very good storyteller as well. So um, I really I think I should also try writing a poem like that for someone.
Yes, sure.
That's quite an inspiration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it was a beautiful thing that I did. And maybe if today I write something for him, he will be more more touched because after 10 years or 20, 15 years of marriage, or rather 10 now, you are not expecting something like that. So he'll be more inspired by that.
So coming back to what you said, like your husband keeps on forwarding you the poems. So sometimes you don't understand why. What is it that makes you like difficult that was to understand? What is it in the poem that you don't understand?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I don't understand some of the Hindi poems that he sends.
Okay,
Because the language Hindi itself, I don't know many words, so then it becomes difficult to understand. But if it's an English poem, it's not that hard to understand. So
okay.
I definitely
So it is more of a like a language barrier for you. That
correct.
is
And he is
so
more of a Hindi, Hindi reader and uh,
okay,
English also, but mostly I think most of the poems he sends are in Hindi.
okay. So it is only the language barrier. So otherwise, it's not a problem for
Huh.
you.
Yeah,
So
otherwise it's not a problem. If it's English, then I have not found anything too hard to understand.
okay. So if you are given a poem to read, so you are basically understanding everything. If the language is not a problem, so
Yeah, yeah. Mostly, I think should be.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't imagine if you put very tough poem in front of me.
If you have to refer to the dictionary, then you have a problem understanding. That's the
Yeah, yeah. So, but one or two words is okay. You can still
yeah,
understand. When it is in a certain context, you understand the
yeah,
meaning.
yeah.
But I haven't come across a poem which is so hard that all hard words are used, difficult words are used.
Okay. The reason I was just asking this question is because like uh, I want our audience to understand, and it is not that difficult to understand poems. It is just understanding the context, and sometimes the interpretation may be different from for different people based on how they relate to the poem.
Hmm.
Otherwise, understanding poems is not that difficult. It's
Yes.
just you just have to understand the context from like say from line one to two, then in that way you have to keep understanding the context,
Correct.
building
Yeah.
the context. So okay, uh, I would like to bring I don't know
Can I ask you a question?
yes,
So, how did your interest in poems come about?
frankly speaking, I avoided poems for a very long time. So when I was in my 10th grade, I completely missed out the poetry literature section in my English. Uh, so like I attempted out of 100 marks, like it was like divided into four parts, like 25 marks for grammar, so 25 marks for like it was called main course book. So it was like the question will come. Uh, there will be a story, and there will be like questions coming from. So we don't have to like study anything beforehand for that part. So that part was also easy, and there was 25 marks to like Percy writing. That was also very much easy. But when it came to literature, except the rhyme skill, I did not understand anything, and all the poems were like 3 pages long, and it was I did not have the patience to read those poems as well. So for a
Any
very
poem
long,
that you remember from your childhood or from like,
I remember a few poems from our Hindi. Uh, uh, what do you say? Hindi subject, because we had a very wonderful Hindi teacher.
okay,
For example, he introduced Harivansh Rai Bachchan as Amitabh Bachchan's father.
okay,
So it became interesting to us. Although Harivansh Rai Bachchan is a much larger figure than Amitabh Bachchan, but as a child,
yeah,
we may not know him. So she introduced uh, his Amitabh Bachchan's father.
hmm,
So we became interested. Then she told that although Harivansh Rai Bachchan poems sound like very much into like always talking about drinking and everything. Like the most of the poems were from Madhushala only in our syllabus. So she thought actually it has a deeper meaning. It is more based on like Gita only.
uh,
Like, for example, one poem that Amitabh Bachchan is often recites is that राह पकड़ के तू चल चला चल मिल जाएगी तुझे मधुशाला. So it is like from Gita only. Like only thing you have to do is like you have to perform your duty, and you
yeah,
will get
yeah,
your result. So
yeah,
that was the kind of thing that our teacher taught us. So I was very interested in those kind of poetry.
amazing, fantastic.
So our teacher was also a storyteller. So she would tell different stories about different poets like Sumitra Nandan Pant, why he is important. So
Yeah, mm, wow. Yes,
uh,
Harivansh Rai Bachchan's poems are very, they have a very deep meaning.
yeah.
It's very nice.
So
Okay. There is
after
one. Hmm.
that, like uh, I had many my friends who were poets. So
Okay.
just to be relevant, I started reading poetry, and from there I got into writing poetry and things like that.
Cool,
Started
cool.
I got
Do you publish
interest.
your poems anywhere?
I did not publish anything, but I just write it for my own satisfaction.
Wow. You should also publish. You
Yeah.
never know. Somebody might find some inspiration.
I publish only stupid poetry. There is a, like not stupid poetry, nonsense poetry will be a better word for that. So, that does not make any sense. People like that kind of poetry written by me.
Acha. Okay. Good. So you do publish it, right?
Yeah, I used to publish in my blog earlier, but now I have stopped that also.
Okay. Okay. Right. So there is one poem which my husband sings, always sings with for my daughter.
Okay,
And he's been doing that for since she was like a very little child. Now she's almost 10 years, but he would keep, and it when I would also listen to him, and it's a very beautiful poem. So I'd like to read that poem. Okay. Is it okay?
okay,
Okay. So the name of the poem is Ye Kadam Ka Ped. Okay, by Subhadra Kumari Chauhan. It's a Hindi poem. यह कदम का पेड़ अगर माँ होता यमुना तीरे मैं भी उस पर बैठ कन्हैया बनता धीरे धीरे ले देती यदि मुझे बांसुरी तुम दो पैसे वाली किसी तरह नीची हो जाती यह कदम की डाली। तुम्हें नहीं कुछ कहता पर मैं चुपके चुपके आता, उस नीची डाली से अम्मा ऊंचे पर चढ़ जाता। वही बैठ फिर बड़े मजे से बांसुरी बजाता, अम्मा अम्मा कह बंसी के स्वर में तुम्हें बुलाता। सुन मेरी बंसी का को माँ तुम सुन मेरी बंसी को माँ तुम कितनी खुश हो जाती, मुझे देखने काम छोड़कर तुम बाहर तक आती। तुमको अति देख बांसुरी रख मैं चुप हो जाता, तुमको आती देख बांसुरी रख मैं चुप हो जाता। एक बार माँ कह पात सॉरी एक बार माँ कह पत्तों में धीरे से छुप जाता। तुम हो चकित देखती चारों ओर न मुझे पाती, व्याकुल सी हो तब कदम से नीचे तक आ जाती। पत्तों का मरमर स्वर सुन जब ऊपर आंख उठाती, मुझे देख ऊपर डाली पर कितनी घबरा जाती। गुस्सा होकर मुझे डांटती, कहती नीचे आ जा। पर जब मैं न उतरता हंसकर कहती, मुन्ना राजा नीचे उतरो मेरे भैया, तुम्हें मिठाई दूंगी, नए खिलौने माखन मिश्री दूध मलाई दूंगी। मैं हंसकर सबसे ऊपर की डाली पर चढ़ जाता, वही कहीं पत्तों में छुपकर फिर बांसुरी बजाता। बहुत बुलाने पर भी माँ जब मैं न उतर कर आता, माँ तब माँ का हृदय तुम्हारा बहुत व्याकुल हो जाता। तुम आंचल फैलाकर अम्मा वही पेड़ के नीचे ईश्वर से कुछ विनती करती बैठती, आंखें मीचे। तुम्हें ध्यान में लगी देख मैं धीरे धीरे आता और तुम्हारे फैले आंचल के नीचे छिप जाता। तुम घबरा कर आंख खोलती पर माँ खुश हो जाती, अब अपने मुन्ना राजा को गोदी में ही पाती। इसी तरह कुछ खेला करते हम तुम धीरे धीरे, यह कदम का पेड़ अगर माँ होता यमुना तीरे। सो थैंक यू।
Yeah, I'm glad that you wrote read this poem, and I remember how our teacher used to like tell this that how beautifully this poem describes Krishna Lila in a sense. So
Yeah, absolutely. The whole essence of who
uh,
Krishna
yeah,
is there in this poem.
yeah. So it's a beautiful poem actually. Some of the poems is uh, very beautifully recreated the what do you say Mahabharata in a beautiful way. Like I
Yeah.
think there is one book on Karna as well. So I forgot the name of the
Book
uh,
on Karna.
huh?
Oh, book on Karna.
Yeah. So that poet actually made Karna what he is known for. Like today, he is known as a hero
Hmm.
because of that like the original Mahabharata. They did not make him that much of a hero, but
Hmm.
that poetry actually
Yeah.
made him that hero.
Yes. Yes.
And I do, it's just a brain fade moment. Like I forgot that name of poetry.
Hmm. I think I think poetry is a beautiful way
Yeah,
of showing a perspective,
yeah,
right? Like Karna could be a good person also.
yeah,
That's not how the regular Mahabharat, which
yeah,
we know of, shows him as. But he could be like, we of course know him as a Danshur person,
yeah,
but nothing more than that, right?
yeah,
Uh, but a poem is a great way to do that, because you're not writing a story. Maybe you don't even have enough data about that person to prove that the person
yeah,
was indeed a very good person. But then poem can make it like really
yeah.
give another perspective.
Yes. Even Jhansi Ki Rani became more popular because of that
Poem.
poem.
Okay, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, otherwise she would have been lost in some history, but that poem kept her alive.
Mhm. I
Like,
see that anything can be turned into a poetry. That's
yeah.
what I'm seeing in this conversation. That recently I'm reading a book, which is called as Parv. It's based on Mahabharata.
Okay.
And the beautiful part about this book is that all the characters have a very human, they've given a very human personality. They're not like Krishna is also not a god. Like he is just a very sharp and a very intelligent and a strategic person. That's how
Okay.
he's been shown. Arjun has a certain character, Bhima, and everybody has their own flaws as well as pros and cons. So I can see that maybe, Bhim is one person who I have very newly discovered through that book.
Okay.
And maybe I should write a poem on Bhim.
Okay. I'm now curious about him.
So Bhim is known as a very powerful, a very
Yeah.
huge and a powerful person. But and he was also not capable of, understanding maybe understanding. Like this is from Draupadi's point of view. The
Uh,
point of view is very important. So from Draupadi's point of view, Bhim was not so capable of understanding a woman's feelings.
mhm,
But at the end, she discovered that he was the only person who could understand her and who
okay.
could really, who could really know what she is going through.
Mhm,
And when everybody else was taking this war as something which is strategic to get the kingdom back, it was Bhim who was doing it to take a revenge. I so Bhim was the least bothered person about it. He's like, I've spent 14 years of my life in a forest. What good is a kingdom for me now? I don't want to. I am happy to live in the forest, but I am going to rip Duryodhan off because of the insult he did to my wife. So his was the only intention, like which Draupadi could see that it was not for the kingdom, but because of the love he had for Draupadi. So
yes.
this I didn't know. Like I haven't seen this. Like everybody, I mean, in Mahabharata, I don't know. Like I have known only Mahabharata through the serials that I've watched. So this perspective of Bhim is not there. That he was a
Yes.
genuine, big-hearted person for whom he was not the person who really mattered. It was the other person, like very giving kind of a person. So maybe like I'm still reading and getting to know, and now I think I should make notes. And yet at the
Yeah.
end,
In fact, there are many accounts where they say that Bhim is a very wise person,
hmm,
although he has been misunderstood. And his wisdom comes from the fact that he is one person who can like accept rejection, which is a very big thing that which many people cannot do that. Like for example, even Duryodhan, Draupadi, like Arjuna more than anyone else.
hmm,
But Bhima used to like very what do you say? He accepted it very gracefully that okay, it's all right. Like I'm not her first choice. Like, but
hmm,
he still loved her as
hmm,
much as anyone else could do that. So
yeah. Yeah. In fact, Mahabharata, in that book, Arjun has a very selfish side that is being shown in that book. Like, for him, like even Draupadi, although he was the one who married, and Draupadi was very infatuated by Arjuna as compared to all the other husbands. But in the end, she found out how selfish Arjun has been throughout, and how much of love she has shown to a person who didn't care a bit about her. And that's when she realized her love for Bhim was
okay,
more than, like, she could see Bhim's love towards her was immeasurable.
yes. So yeah.
Yeah.
So there are many things that also you can say that it's the perspective that can help us understand a person also. Like and poems are a great way to do that.
Yeah, they're beautiful ways to bring out the nuances of people's characters and the richness of who that individual is through poems.
Okay. So, what are your other interests? I just wanted to. I'm just curious about.
I have many interests, but I haven't I haven't pursued anything really much. Um, I mean, I like I always felt that I have a like when I read, I really love to do that, and I've so expressing it in a certain way, the characters, like how you read brings life to that what you
Mhm.
have read, right? And especially I've discovered this when I read stories to my daughter, that when I and she really enjoys that when you have using different pitch and sounds and all of that. So at one point I was thinking of a career of being a what do you say, dubbing artist. I don't know what that
Okay.
artist. So I contemplated that once, that maybe I should make a career, but I thought I was too old for it now, so I did not
It's
venture
you
into
are
it.
not too old, especially in 2020. It's almost going to 2025.
Yeah,
So you are not too old for anything that you want to do.
yeah,
So
yeah. So yes, maybe that is one thing where I definitely feel. I always thought maybe I will read stories and record and then put it on YouTube. So that was the smallest thing I could do. But I didn't do that because I was like, see, I don't, who will listen if the children will listen to it? And I'm not too much for children to be exposed to computers and YouTube so much early in life. Like 15 years, after 15 years, it's okay, but not before that. So then that's why I didn't pursue that idea further.
okay, I have a different perspective to that.
Hmm.
Okay, because I have a child at my home. She's just 3 years old, but I think that because of mobile only, she has been smarter than many other children of her age, and like we do like try to not get her interested into a continuous like a viewing kind of thing. We do ration that, but so that is like if you supervise that,
Hmm.
children become smarter because they are at this age they are constantly curious to learn things. So if there are some good contents that are available to them, they will get interested into that. So
Hmm. Yeah, what you're saying is right. Of course, if they have the kind of content that is going to interest them and that will
uh,
build their skills, that's really okay. But my fear is that as once they get hooked, now you can have all the parental controls, but at the age of 12, 14, 13, they will not have any. They will not listen to any of these things. So it's
no,
actually.
I'm here also like the same thing applies to you. Once you have like created a standard template for someone till the age of 7, you can say they will like to like certain things and dislike certain things. So yeah, you can actually, as there is a saying in Vedas also, give me a child for the first 7 years. After that, no evil, no good can change that person.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we can't change anything.
yeah. So if you just inculcate the good values into them in an early age, they
Mhm.
will not go the other way around. So
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
this is my personal belief, and I think that it has worked out pretty much well.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it is just I don't have to struggle with what she's watching, what she's not watching, because she doesn't have a mobile, nor does she have a laptop. I'm very clear whatever she's doing is the best, because children are not the only influence that is there is her peers, right? And which is fine because she's going to learn from good and bad from her peers, and we're not giving her any screen, so she she's not getting influenced.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
that's
easy.
yeah,
It is tough because we have to fight with her that every other child is there. But there are some friends of her who don't watch. So I always give their examples and it
uh,
works. Till now it
yeah,
has worked.
yes. That is also like uh, yeah. Even my eldest niece also the did not get her mobile till the age of let's say 13. Like only so only when it became a necessity, she got her mobile phone because sometimes
Yeah.
it is difficult to
What?
keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's understood. Yes.
there are also that the teacher monitors that they cannot use the mobile phone during school hours. So
True.
uh, so there also like it is that model also works fine.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
Mm.
So and regarding your hobby, like you said, I think that you should try uh, uh, doing more research in the voice artist thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's also an art.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yes. Let's see. Let's see how it. Yeah. That is one. I don't know. I had that thing. Now I don't have that much wanting to do that. Right now, I am in the space of reading books, and that in
Hmm.
that space. And I try to read a lot of like I've devoted the year 2025 to read Indian mythologies.
Okay.
So that's what I've started reading, and while I'm doing that now after this conversation, I'm getting the idea that whatever I'm reading now, such a liking for Bhim. Maybe I should write a poem on Bhim. That's my newly
Okay.
developing interest.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that actually. So I think you should write more and more poetry, poems actually.
Yeah.
So for you can write anything about anything. Poems
Yeah.
are not just like when I started writing poems, it was more about romance. By romance, I don't mean that love for one someone from the opposite sex, but it was about love for certain things like love for nature or
Hmm.
that kind of.
I
So I
hmm.
wrote quite a lot of poems based on this whole romantic feeling of this is the ideal kind of world that I like to see, kind of. But then I also wrote poems on difficult topics that
Hmm.
were bothering me. So it helped me peel out certain layers of my mind. So,
No.
so like one poem I wrote about heartbreak, or so it was. I was not able to forget anything, so I wrote
Oh,
something about that, and it is one of my favorite poems now.
okay. Please share
So
that.
yeah, the poem goes like a paperweight. Your memory doesn't go away. You know, and I try to forget you. Your memories are here to. Sorry, I forgot the exact words,
Mhm.
but you get it's just a metaphor that I use that like a paperweight.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, so that was the favorite part of the poem.
Oh, okay. I understand.
It was a small poem. It was 5 line poem only.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your memory is now become like a weight on my
yeah,
heart.
yeah. No, not exactly like a paperweight. I'm not able to wear. It's the her scent that keeps me. going back to her memories again and again. It was
I
so.
see.
There are two metaphors used here. One is the paperweight, another is scent. The scent, as in like not the perfume she uses. It's as a
Mm.
person, her
Mm.
scent. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Awesome.
So it's different feelings that I was able to express through poetry. So that
Mm.
was
Yeah. Yeah. It helps us express a wide range of emotions.
yes.
Mm.
I don't know why I'm speaking so much today.
Why you are?
Uh, I generally don't speak much about my heartbreak and everything, but and I'm doing it in a podcast which might go public as well. So I don't know why I'm doing that to myself.
Okay. You maybe you are now much over it.
Yes,
You know, if you are
perhaps.
over it, then you're okay to you're not in that moment or very close to it. So maybe that's why you're okay to share.
Yeah, perhaps. So we are also like the time is also coming to an end. So it was nice speaking to you, and it was a very interesting session for me as well because it opened me as well. So thank you for uh, coming to my show, and next time we'll also try to get like more deeper into some conversation. So I'm expecting to get you in again in another episode. So
Amazing. Let's do
yeah,
that.
and
By
we will
next time,
provide this.
I should also maybe write a few
Yes,
poems.
I hope you write more, and I hope that whatever you spoke inspires others to also write.
Yeah.
And I especially like that thing, the point when you mentioned that you wrote a poem because your trainer asked you to.
Right.
Right. So,
That's it.
so I would appreciate if some of our audience members also take this cue and write something for themselves. So it's
Yeah.
a great experience to write a poem.
Yes, for sure.
In fact, any art form is helps you to experience new. Right. And poetry is one of the top. I
Yeah.
would say
Any situation, any hard time can be turned into a creative
yes,
output. So yeah, like you said, heartbreak. You
yeah,
wrote a poetry. Like it was a very creative way of dealing with it. So
yes. It becomes a necessity in times like that. So when you engage in poetry in difficult times,
mm,
you also think that like it's not just about you, but also like many other people also going through the same thing. So there will be people who will be sharing the same feelings, and you you will find solace that you are not alone in this. Uh,
yeah, yes,
so that helps actually.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity and all your questions, conversation have opened a lot in me as well. So thank you for this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye.